This is Business Express. It's Zibby here, and this morning I've got a special guest joining me, but I'll let you know how you can be a part of the show. WhatsApp number is 0809 4440981. You can also tweet at smooth981. And we're streaming live on YouTube as well, so you can catch the live stream up on our YouTube channel as smooth981. And don't forget to subscribe. Our special guest this morning is Oladele. She is from, the Money Wits Club. I like how that sounds. Good morning, Ola, and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Awesome, Ola. Welcome, welcome. All right. So, as if we don't have enough starving people across the continent, we're going to be talking about the UN projection that more hungry Africans shall arise in 2024. The United Nations World Food Program is saying that there'll be about a 4% increase to 49.5 million people who are hungry in Africa. Ola, can we blame the COVID-19 pandemic, or are there other reasons for this projection?
Of course, there are other reasons. We're in 2023, we are almost in 2024, right? We can't keep blaming COVID for events that have happened. While COVID was a major event, um, I must say that these kind of reports and these type of projections just reflect the lack of infrastructure, the lack of provision for people, lack of education, the shrinking economy. Whilst I must say that the shrinking economies and this whole projection is not peculiar to Africa, actually, because with inflation everywhere, right? The fact is, if you're earning $100 and it now costs you 120 to feed yourself in a month, you're going to be hungry, and it's not just about Nigeria. But what am I saying? There's no social infrastructure in Africa. So those are the things that, if COVID highlighted the issue, what have the governments and leadership done since COVID to make things different?
Mm. Why do you think the nations in Africa can't or haven't implemented these pro-growth policies that countries like China have implemented and, that have helped them to reduce poverty, really?
So, these policies were implemented by or were driven by their leaders. Um, we generally say that we have a leadership problem in Africa. Um, from two angles. One, from a willpower angle, there is not just that much focus on bringing up, and then skill. Sometimes it's just that they don't realize some things that you're doing this way. If it is in a certain way, everybody will be better for it, right? So there's the willpower, there's political issues, there's a leadership part of things, and there's also the lack of knowledge that there are some basic things that if you do, everybody will be better off. Nobody will even be looking at you, right? And if you don't know how to do those things, then you think all I need to do is steal, right? So for you to push those kind of policies that China did, you really must have your people at heart, and you must have skill to make it happen.
Now, speaking about hunger, Nigeria is probably one of the most blessed countries. There's a lot of land, but there is a food crisis. We've seen the president declare a state of emergency due to food insecurity. So, how can a country that is so blessed be suffering so much?
Yeah, it still boils down to the same thing, really. What are the issues around food security in Nigeria? Actual security, meaning that people have left their farmland for security issues or for security reasons. Things like flooding, right? Where somebody releases a dam in their country, and then you find that half of your arable land is flooded, right? The actual issue is that not enough food is being produced. That's one. That's on the basic level. The next level is there's so much waste. So it's a lack of technology. So you go to the farm or you go to the market and someone is saying you must buy this watermelon for 1,500 and they're only able to sell 10 out of 20. Then the remaining 10 are there rotting when they could have sold everything for 500, or whatever. Right. So and then if you will see when they are delivering, you see that half of their produce is already bad, right? Those are the things that feed into the pricing that you get in the end. And is that pricing that chases people away, right? What I mean by that is if it's too expensive, people can't afford it, and then they are hungry. So there's a supply chain issue, there's a logistics issue, there's a technology issue. There's the fact that it's easier to transport 100 cows if you cut it up and frozen it than to actually transport 100 cattle, 100 cows from the north to the south, right? So processing, financing, it's a very massive ecosystem that has issues every step of the way, right? And I mean, what does it say? It's not just about having, right? And I think it's a life principle. It's about knowing how to use what you have and then actually using what you have. And so if any of that is not done, I mean, that's why we are here where we are.
Mm. We're speaking with Oladele from the Money Week Club, and you're listening to Business Express. If you've got a question or a comment, you can just send it to us via WhatsApp 0809 4440981, and you can also tweet at Smooth981. Let's talk about Nigeria's population. It's seen as a blessing for business. It makes it a very attractive business market. But on the other side, is it possible that this large population could or has become a burden? Is the nation just too populous for some of these hunger elimination programs to actually work?
You just use China as an example. China,
Mm,
that just kills it, first of all. That can't be it. The fact is there are policies and there could be policies, but lack of implementation of proper policies that reflect our current situation is really the major issue. The economy also, the fact that the small business, the middle class is shrinking is also a major issue because the middle class are the ones that would own the small businesses that would employ people and then pay them enough to live well, right? Those are the things that are shrinking. But the number of people is really not the issue. The number of people is a strength if you know how to use it. But if you don't, it becomes a curse or burden.
wow. Okay, let's talk about family planning programs. Do you think the government is falling behind when it comes to educating Nigerians, particularly those in the rural areas, lower income backgrounds, on the need to manage the number of children that they have?
So it's a cultural thing, right? It's a cultural thing, it's a mindset thing. Um, for a lot of these people, their children are their tag to prosperity. Maybe this one will play football and become Mikel Obi. Maybe, all the
Mm,
maybes, right? So if this one is a footballer, this one can be this one can be a doctor, they have plans and they have dreams. So, and with that, they increase their chances by having more children. Such that I think you almost might not be able to successfully tackle it from the angle of don't have more children so that you don't bring them into poverty. I'm not sure that would work because it's more than just logic. It's more than just logic. I don't think that will work. Maybe have incentives. If you cap the number of children, maybe there are benefits that will come to you, things like that. If you don't have, if let's say if you have up to 4, they cap it at 4, and then after that you don't get this particular thing, people will begin to rethink. And you now say if you get to 4, you can use this to stop the next child from happening, and you get this level. Then and it should be benefits, not cash, like maybe access to stuff, things like that, those kind of things which would have applied to everyone would are more of a better incentive than education. Education himself, everybody will know that right? I mean,
hmm. All right, let's move on to talk about sale of assets. The Bureau of Public Enterprises disclosed that it has plans of selling off the remaining 40% shares of the federal government in the discos. What are your thoughts?
so we need money. If it's not working, let's try something else. I personally do not have an issue with selling, um, as long as it's properly priced, because a lot of these things, in my opinion, the government hasn't really done well in terms of managing these things. So if we're able to sell, and get the value that and extract some cash value from it, then I think it's better for us. Um, if, if, if it will also make the discourse.
Yes, we
Are you
lost
there?
you for about 20 seconds.
Oh, so I said that if it makes things better, if it makes discourse more effective, then it's better for us. Yeah.
Okay. Now, the BP also mentioned certain other assets that will be sold off via public offerings like Elime Petrochemicals, and Nigeria Reinsurance. Do you think there'll be sufficient investor interest in these assets?
Um, Local interests, I'm not sure. We can't say. We almost have to wait and see when we get there. And I say that because some of these are not necessarily top of mind companies in the spaces that they need to make a case for profitability before people jump on, or else it's just sinking sand, right? So I would like to see things around the numbers, the history. Also bearing in mind, I think there's a regulation around pension funds that you must have paid dividend for the past 3 years for them to be able to invest in you. So if they don't meet all those criteria, then and the pension funds are not able to invest in them, then who is going to be investing in them? So we need more information, more. I mean, in the process of listing, they would publish their data, right? Obviously audited, obviously checked by who should check it. And then we'll now say, is this a good asset to put money in or not?
Now, considering this projection of more poor people and Nigeria not yet selling any assets, what kind of 2024 do you see in store?
Bumpy ride, a very bumpy ride. Very, very
Wow.
bumpy ride. I must say everyone should hang in there. We've had issues in the past. Like everything that is happening right now didn't just happen overnight, right? It's a fallout of things that have happened in the past. And even if we're on the right track in terms of fixing it, it will take a while. And so it is going to be very bumpy. Also, because we can't control what's going to happen globally. Usually, when everything seems like it's calm, some news erupts from somewhere that
Right.
throws everything off. And then when you look at even the budget, the assumption of the budget, if the assumption is 10 naira, the current oil price is 7 naira, so we're already at a negative. Then OPEC has capped the number of barrels we can produce daily, which is lower than what is in our budget. So there's already negative, double negative there, apart from the deficit that we have. So as a country, I think we are in for a bumpy ride. I expect more assets, more tangible assets will be put on the table. I would have expected more tangible assets to be put on the table earlier, but we are where we are, and let's hope for the best also.
So what's the way forward, really?
Ah, Personal finance management. After you can't control what's outside, you begin to look at what can I do inside. Every event creates an opportunity depending on how you see it, right? So look at all the events. There are lots of negative events that will produce gaps. Which one do you have the capacity to fill, right? Based on skill, or which one is a low-hanging fruit that if you do a 2 months course, you can plug into it and begin to run, right? That's the mindset everyone should have. The moment you just say, oh, there's problem, and you just lie down, that really solidifies it. But you have to be nimble. There will always be opportunities. So find those opportunities and plug into them.
All right, let's go on to WhatsApp. Gilbert says, on food insecurity in Nigeria in 1976, Obasanjo's Operation Feed the Nation highlighted most of the challenges of the agricultural sector and suggested ways to address these problems. What did we as a country do with this brilliant scheme? Fine Oluboroko says, Russia-Ukrainian war is a major reason why more Africans will go hungry next year. The UN should know this at the back of their minds. However, the main reason why poverty persists in Africa is corruption in government. This is a disease that needs curing, or else the story will remain same in the future. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your messages, and special thanks to our guest, Oladele from the Money Wit Club, for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Bye.
Do stay with us. There is a lot more to come on the Smooth Breakfast.